This is Valor Company Podcast, Episode 1. My name is Caleb. America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. These words were spoken by a private in the 42nd Infantry Division during World War I named Martin Treptow, and it was titled My Pledge. Private Martin Treptow gave his life believing in a cause that untold thousands before and since him also believed. The cause of freedom and the price for it has always required in blood in every generation since the dawn of mankind, and this alone makes the sacrifice of so many unknown to the masses even more meaningful. Because there is no mistake of what may be asked of a young American service member. That service member willfully accepts the risk involved and at a time required to secure the freedoms from the moment that he or she raises their right hand and takes an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. This oath is often repeated many times during the service member's time in uniform, and no matter what the service member did or had to do while in uniform, during peacetime or in a time of unflinching war, the willingness of the brave American service member to utter the words alone is an example first exemplified on the fertile fields outside Boston on April 19th, 1775, before the Republic was even founded. In today's United States military, each service member makes the choice while they are willing to serve and sacrifice a portion of their life in uniform. In past generations, many young American men were drafted into the service, altering their own wishes for their lives. Sadly, many of them took a cowardice stance and fled to other countries or came up with lame excuses. But for the ones who chose to wear the uniform and defend the freedoms that can often be taken for granted, there will never be enough thank yous and appreciation given. While we all have our own stories and while we joined, we share the experience and at times painful and unpleasant realities of what serving the cause of liberty and freedom means. For every generation of American warrior, many things have and will change, but the shared sacrifices each of us has given bond every present member of the United States Armed Forces with the men who stood against the British at Lexington and Concord. Now, what I just read is just a summary of basically my thoughts of what it means to serve the United States of America in the military. Now, of course, not everyone is going to have to make that ultimate sacrifice that Martin Treptow did, who was a barber in Iowa before he enlisted in the Army to go off the fight in World War I. But we all have our own individual stories, and I'm sure that the vastness of them is as numerable as the number of granules of sand on the beach. But I wanted to start off the podcast basically as just kind of an introduction into me, my story, and why I chose to serve. So I didn't join the military until a little bit later in life. I was 26, which is definitely not the norm. I think the average person who joins the military is around 19 or 20. Maybe even 18, 19, but I wasn't near mature enough, and I had dreams of playing professional baseball when I was that age. And as life just kind of unfolded, I found myself in a position, especially from the area that I'm from, where one of the only real attainable things I could do to better my life was join the military. And I'm sure that's kind of resonating with many, many thousands of people who have worn the uniform before and after me. My life really before enlistment was centered around sports. And probably the best sport I ever played, that I probably could have done the best at, was basketball. But I just was very short whenever I was playing. And with baseball, you didn't have to be any particular size, so I chose to pursue baseball. And I pushed that until age 22 when I got hurt. And there's a whole long backstory with that I'm not going to go into. It's not really all that important for an introduction to the podcast. But I pursued baseball for 8 years from the time I was 14 to 22. And then after my career ended, I really didn't know exactly kind of what I wanted to do for my life, but I knew that I needed to kind of restart it and get centered around something. And I had always been very patriotic and been, I did ROTC in high school, JROTC, and I was kind of this poster boy, if you will, for enlistment. But again, my dream was playing professional baseball, so I never really gave it much thought other than that. And but I was a big history lover. Enjoyed the Civil War, World War II, and at that point in time knew a lot of World War II veterans, and always had these very great, enriching conversations with them. And I was always fascinated by their stories. New guys who had been at Omaha Beach and Utah Beach on D-Day, and some Rangers and World War II, and just really understood, or tried to understand the best I could what their experiences were. But I was always engrossed with their stories. And as I got older, and especially the 3 or 4 years after my baseball career ended, it was starting to look more and more like that was going to be the route that I was going to take. And when I finally made the decision to join, it was somewhere in 2002. I don't remember exactly which month it was, but I was 25 years old. And I remember going to the recruiter station, and basically I was kind of really hesitant about doing it, but I knew I needed to do it. And I was kind of caught in this almost no man's land that in my own personal experience might have represented something that Private Treptow kind of felt in that moment whenever he was ultimately taken off the battlefield. Definitely not to that extreme, but I knew I needed to make a change, but there was a part of me that was kind of holding me back. But I went to the recruiting station. It was a recruiting office in the Tallahassee Mall in Tallahassee, Florida, and went in and saw there was one recruiter. It really worked out pretty well. There was only one recruiter in the office, and I just sat at his desk, and I literally just said to him, "I'm 25 years old. You do not have to lie to me." And he was at his desk, and whenever I said this, he was, at that moment in time, he was looking at some paperwork on his desk. And he looks up at me with this very shocked expression, and he's like, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" And so I definitely caught him off guard, and I told him, I said, "Look," I said, "I'm 25 years old. I am strongly considering joining the United States military. You do not have to lie to me to get me to join." And I'm sure he had never experienced that before in his time as a recruiter. And